Welcome to Castle of Horror, the show dedicated to horror movies and awesomeness. This week, we have a special Christmas episode, a magical moment to discuss Jaws, The Revenge, also known as Jaws 4. This is episode 353. Bear in mind, if you haven't seen today's movie, we're going to be talking about Jaws 4 from the perspective of horror fans who have seen it, so warning, spoilers ahead. From Denver, Colorado, I'm your host, Jason Henderson, publisher at Castle Bridge Media. With me from Austin is Tony Salvaggio, lead singer and bassist of the band Deserts of Mars and lead guitarist of the band Rise from Fire. Say hello, Tony.
Howdy.
Howdy. Also in Austin, Mr. Drew Edwards is the writer-creator of the long-running underground comic Halloween Man, currently published by Comixology. He is a Best Writer Ringo nominee, Austin Chronicle Best of Austin Award winner, and a member of the PEN America Fellowship. Say hello, Drew.
Happy Krampusnacht, everybody.
I'm very excited. You know what? I would actually like another Christmas Jaws where Jaws is infected with an anti-Christmas spirit or something.
Man. Oh, and I should have, we should have come up with like a Jaws, like a swimming through the water.
Yes.
With a jaw full of nasty teeth. Something. I don't know. That's all.
Yes.
Whatever this is going to be, it's definitely going to be a Lava Shark production.
Yes, indeed.
There is, in fact, a movie from 2018 called Santa Jaws.
Nice.
Oh, really?
Of course.
Yes.
Well, basically, if you
it's on Hulu, you can watch it right now, Jason.
Somebody will create it. All right. Where did we leave off? Oh, yes. Okay, so Drew spoke, and finally, also in Denver, color commentary from Julia Guzman of Guzman Immigration of Denver. Say hello.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays indeed. And what a film to ring in the holidays. This is probably the last time that you guys are going to hear from us until the new year. And I wasn't even sure we were gonna come back. And then Drew on Twitter, because that's where we all live, Drew said, you know what? I'd really like to discuss Jaws, and I wasn't at this point. I'm just not listening. I'm sort of half asleep. The year is coming to an end, and he goes Jaws 4, and I looked up like a hedgehog or whatever small animals just poke up and go, what? Jaws 4?
Yeah.
Yes,
like a great white shark.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hover over the water like a great white shark, moving slowly and undulating towards a boat.
I'm picturing more of a mullet jumping up, going, "What? Jaws
Yes.
4?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So ready to discuss.
I've got teeth. Ho, ho, ho.
Oh, do you remember the shark, the Hanna-Barbera? What was it? Jabberjaw.
Yeah.
Yes. See, so he could get up on his.
Land shark. I have something about land shark later.
All right. Okie dokie. Jaws the Revenge, also known as Jaws 4 or Jaws 4 the Revenge, is a 1987 American horror thriller film produced and directed by Joseph Sargent. It stars Lorraine Gary, Lance Guest, Maria Van Peebles, and Michael Caine. It's a direct sequel to Jaws 2. In theory, it ignores the events of Jaws 3D, but I could write you a fanfic that tied them together, and it is the fourth and final installment in the Jaws franchise. The film focuses on a now widowed Ellen Brody and her conviction that a great white shark is seeking revenge on her family, particularly when it kills her younger son and follows her down the eastern seaboard to the Bahamas. Jaws, I'm sorry, I have to stop.
This is the appropriate response, actually, after you read that.
Oh my god.
1, 2, Jaws is coming for you. 3, 4, it's this fourth movie.
It's the hardest Jason's ever laughed at any movie. He's gonna start crying.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'm sorry.
But it's true. It does chase her down.
Yeah.
It actually does do that.
Okay.
Yes, Virginia, there is a Jaws.
I feel like, okay. I finished that sentence, so it's okay. Jaws the Revenge was shot on location in New England and in the Bahamas and completed on the Universal lot. Like the first two films, Martha's Vineyard was the location of the fictional Amity Island for the opening scenes, While production of the other 3 films in the series took around 2 years, Jaws: The Revenge was made in less than 9 months. According to the associate producer and production manager, Frank Barr, I have never seen a major film planned and executed in all my 32 years as fast as this. The lowest grossing film of the franchise. That's a terrible thing to say about your movie. All right. Lowest grossing film of the franchise, widely panned, but had a good tagline. This time it's personal. I don't know. We're not off to a good start if you're a fan of Jaws 4, and I actually am. So let's get people's opening thoughts. Let's go. Julia, Drew, Tony, and then I'll go. Julia, shark followed her all the way down to the Bahamas. What are your thoughts?
And just in case Jason cuts the laughing fit, he had a laughing fit about that because it was very funny.
Why would you cut the laughing fit? It's so honest.
I'm just putting it in there in case he cuts it. All right. No, it's very funny. Yes, I think this is a really great bad movie. It's definitely a bad movie, but it's a great bad movie. It's very fun to watch. It's hilarious in a lot of spots. And there's some good things about it. Like, I love that Michael Caine is in it, even if he doesn't. Actually, I shouldn't say he doesn't love that he's in it because he was very appreciative of the $1.5 million that he used to build the house.
My house, yeah. He's like, I'm proud of the house that it built.
He's like, it's terrific. The house is terrific. Yeah, so that's cool. And then, there's just some great performances. The little girl who's in this film died tragically a year later. She's murdered by her father. And so that's a really sad cloud that hangs over this film, but she's great in it. She's so cute. Ellen Brody's I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the actress's name.
Lauren Gray,
who plays Ellen. Yeah,
Lorraine Gary. Yeah,
Lorraine Gary. Yeah. She's great. So there's some good performances. There's some interesting stuff. It's gorgeous. It's filmed mostly in Hawaii. It takes place in the Bahamas, but it's filmed mostly in Hawaii, which is another reason why Michael Caine was happy to do it. But it's not, obviously, it's a little bit silly, the idea that, and apparently I can't remember if you said it, Jason, if it was in the screenplay or what the thing was that apparently somebody was actually supposedly controlling the shark.
Yeah, we should get into
okay. So maybe that would make more sense as to why the shark follows them to the Bahamas. But yes, it is silly, but it is enjoyable.
Excellent. That's a good kickoff. Drew, what are your thoughts?
Well, I watched this Thanksgiving weekend. I don't really know what possessed me. Maybe it was an evil voodoo priest. Hint, hint. But I haven't watched this movie probably since I was in junior high, so it's been a long time. I actually found that it was a lot more entertaining this time around. Like, yes, it's stupid in a lot of parts. I feel like this movie veers between actually being decent. I do think the first third of the movie is actually pretty good. I feel like the latter half of the movie veers between being so bad it's good and mediocre, but the so bad it's good parts are so phenomenally so bad it's good that I can't help but giggle at this movie. Like, it's definitely kind of a camp classic. And Michael Caine, for his fault, he says he's never seen this movie. He's like he's having a hell of a time while filming it. Like, he's incredibly watchable, and there's just a lot of other things about it that are just infectiously watchable. And as far as also being a kind of under the radar monster movie, which a lot of people I don't think realize about this movie, because I think we associate the Jaws franchise with summer. I think that's kind of awesome. One, as a bookend with,
you said a Christmas movie, is that what you said?
Under the radar Christmas monster movie. I think it's kind of an interesting bookend, because the first movie is the quintessential 4th of July film, so it's interesting. And it's also the version, we only get the sort of classic American Christmas in the first part of the movie that takes place on Amity Island. The rest of it is Christmas, New Year's in the Bahamas, which is an interesting alternate look at the holiday. So I don't know. I had maybe, I was just too stuffed full of pumpkin pie or whatever, and my good taste had been weighed down by all the I had a really good time watching this last time.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Tony, what are your thoughts?
So I had not seen this. I think I'd seen bits of this movie on cable long ago, and I always heard it was bad, and so
Mhm.
had missed it. I may have had a Mad magazine with it. But the
I
thing
don't
I
even know if it
remember,
did.
the thing I remember though, I never really put it together but there was a licensed NES game,
Mm.
and it's a terrible game. It is not very fun. But when you're hanging out and you don't have much money, and your cousins, for example, have this Jaws game and there's nothing else to play,
Sure.
guess what? You play the Jaws game. And I never quite understood why in the Jaws game you're collecting conch shells,
Mhm.
and to kill Jaws you have to stab him with the end of your boat, which
Yep.
seemed like, why Jaws? Why? But now that I watch this, I'm like, oh, I never, even though it has the revenge in the title of the NES game, it for some reason it never really clicked. If you want to play it, I don't recommend if you want to spend your time playing it, that's fine. But boy, is it not a very fun game to play. But
Wow.
it totally, as I'm watching this movie, I'm going, oh, the conch. Okay, I get. Oh, look, the boat. It made so much more sense now. I don't know how a shark it has Brody radar. I'm kind of disappointed it's not just, if you're gonna go for it, why not just have a shark that shows up like, oh no, he's a waiter. Oh no. He's disguised himself as another submarine, but he's not really. But it doesn't make a lot of sense. However, there are some really great bits, and everybody's putting in the best they can with all the performances.
Yeah.
Like everybody, like it doesn't make a lot of sense, but Michael Caine is great. Everybody, that the kind of romance that happens is like actually like, oh, that's really kind of cool. Like there's a side, almost, it's a side movie that could just be Lorraine Gary and Michael Caine, living through trauma, or like, that thing.
Yeah.
Like they're that's great. And the performances, and there's some really scary bits,
Yes.
some really ridiculous bits, but everybody's doing exactly what they need to do in the movie. But boy, does it not make a lot of sense on anything a shark would do.
Yeah.
And that's the, I don't know. It is worth being a cult classic, but it doesn't make any sense as far as what the actuality of, and the ending, which I guess was a reshot ending, but the ending makes even less sense. Although also in the NES game, you have the strobe thing, and that's how you make Jaws jump out of the water. So all of this stuff came to me through like, oh, that's what the game was
That's
loosely
fascinating
trying
to
to
me.
do. Okay, now I've seen this, that makes sense. But
Well, and when
I
we
don't
get to
think
Act
even
3,
Michael Caine would have made the game good if he somehow
he could have been the narrator or
there's a
cutscenes.
plane in it as well. Although I don't think it's that plane. But boy, yeah, this movie is all over the place. But everybody is trying to do like solid work in it. And
Yeah.
that's what makes it kind of even weirder.
Yes. Yes, for real. Yeah. We'll save Act 3 till when we get to it, because it's its own thing. Once they go into the final battle, the movie becomes like third level strange. But let's start off with, there's two things I want to talk about, which is we start out at Amity Island and the nature of it being a Christmas movie. And I want to start right up at the top, though, with the missing plot. So now, we should review the movie that exists and not the movie that almost was. But I just wanted to make a note of this because it is funny, because you can see a vestige. There's a line when Mrs. Brody says, she goes, I think that shark's out to kill our family, or whatever, or somehow the spirit of the shark, because obviously the shark was blown up in the first movie and the second shark is a different shark. But she goes, I think we're being stalked by a shark spirit or something. She doesn't say that, but he goes, you don't believe in that voodoo. Here's the thing. There was a plot involving a voodoo priest. In other words, the script for this movie really was a supernatural thing where they were like, fuck it, we're just going to make a supernatural movie where a voodoo priest is angry at the Brodies and sicks a shark spirit on
Well,
him.
why is he angry at the Brodies? Like, what did they do to piss off a
I
voodoo
don't know.
priest?
I do not know.
Because the scientist brother shut him down somehow.
Oh,
Like he's
really?
taking advantage of the locals on the island that he's researching
Man.
snails on, and he had him ejected from the island.
See, actually, a movie that just goes full on, that is a voodoo
I wish
shark
that was
priest
all
that
still in there.
was shoving, like, just doing
Yeah.
all kinds of shark revenge on people.
A demon shark would have been amazing.
Well,
Like,
not even
right.
demons, just like if you were a voodoo priest that could make sharks
who
do
had
your
power,
bidding,
yeah.
that would be cool too.
Yeah.
sure,
And so it's
but
still obviously there was a moment in that story where somehow Mrs. Brody got the warning, then the son dies, then she goes, it's a thing, and the other son goes, you don't believe in that voodoo, and that line still makes it into the movie we see. Everything else is gone. And you have a shark and in the book, which I haven't read the novelization, but apparently the novelization literally has bits. Stephen King. After Stephen King did Cujo, people want to like put themselves in like animal heads, and so there are scenes in the book from the shark perspective where it is confused as to why it is acting in a most unnatural way. Where
Oh man, I gotta get that novelization.
Me too, man.
I love crazy novelizations like that.
and so anyway, we'll deal with the film that exists, but it's just interesting to see that what actually happened is that somebody took a machete to a big hunk of plot in this movie, and what you're left with is something arguably worse than it would have been.
It's more ridiculous.
Yes.
Like I can see somebody go, "That's ridiculous. The original Jaws was such a landmark, and
Yeah.
has these scenes." And you're like, "Yeah, but it doesn't." How is the voodoo thing less ridiculous than a shark that has Brody radar?
well, plus if it's a supernatural shark,
Yeah.
like it's decidedly unshark-like behavior, such as
Yes.
roaring for one thing.
Yes, it roars like Godzilla.
Much less.
The sound guys wouldn't do the roar, so they had to pull it from something else because the sound
yeah,
guys
it's
were like, no.
Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But like I would have been, if it was like literally a supernatural shark, I would have been be like, well, okay, it's not a normal shark. I mean, not that any of the sharks in the previous movies behave really super scientifically accurate, but you can your eyes and sort of ignore that stuff because of everything else.
Absolutely,
like this movie would have been made 100 times better if they just would have said, it, we're going on the short train to Crazy Town.
Yeah.
Voodoo shark.
Yes, because then it'd be like, oh, so this is like some weird Italian ripoff of Jaws with
It just
voodoo.
happens to have real characters from the Jaws franchise.
And we just bought it, and we decided to release it as an actual Jaws movie, and everybody would have like gone with that. So anyway, I have to say, we start out though back on Amity Island, and I really like this stuff early on with the killing of the kid is a really good shark. We start out well with this really scary. We meet the kid. He's a cop. He's the son of Chief Brody, and Chief Brody is dead, and
I love all of this stuff as well. Like
the small town, the Christmas
banter
carols
with the the secretary in the police office.
Yeah.
And like honestly, even his death scene is
well done. Yeah.
Incredibly scary. Although, like, how the hell did this movie get a PG-13? Because that's fucking grisly.
Oh, it is. It's rough. It's scary. I don't PG-13, to be honest with you. I don't even. Do they still use that rating? I have no idea.
Yeah, no, this is rated a PG-13.
Do we still use that rating?
Yes.
It's so weird because I have no idea. It's never made any sense to me. When you think about it, there's violence in Poltergeist that is so rough that it's unbelievable that movie wasn't rated R, and so the rating system just didn't ever made any sense to me. And the good thing is, once you're an adult, you don't even pay attention to it anymore. The rare time when I pay attention to ratings is when I'm watching a movie and I'll notice that there is nothing, and I'll go, wait, is this a PG rated movie? Like, what happened? And yes, it's like the third Taken movie, and all of a sudden, like, everybody's being shot off screen. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And it's because for some reason it's PG. But okay, so young Mr. Brody, young Officer Brody gets killed in a grisly way by the shark, and so we meet.
death by Christmas carols in a weird way, because no one can
Yeah.
hear his screaming because of the town choir singing
Yes.
Christmas carols.
Oh, so good. I mean, when it comes to Christmas horror, this is good.
Yeah, but honestly, I was already like put off because I felt like, I mean, having seen that actual people who get their arms torn off by a shark are fully capable of getting to safety. Like, I was like, why can't he just pull himself over to the, to the steering wheel or whatever, and start the boat and go? That kind of bugged me because I felt like he wasn't like, I feel like if he had been somehow trapped, or maybe the boat had already been damaged when his arm got bitten off,
Yeah.
then it would have made more sense. But I was really irritated by his helplessness in that moment. I was like, come on, man, do something at least.
You're the-
Try to save
as a-
yourself.
If you were a Force ghost in his life, you'd be a coach going, "Come on, get up."
Come on,
And-
move.
yes.
You
I
can
don't
survive
know.
this.
Like, if your
No, you're
got
right.
bit off,
He's
you
got
might be in
traumatic.
shock.
Yeah,
Like,
he's not
True.
reacting. He's not reacting like anything with training. He's just
but
just terrified
kudos to this actor. In the short amount of time,
Yeah.
he creates a really likable guy. Like, I feel
Yeah,
bad.
he doesn't deserve to
No, you're
get
right.
this, and
You're
it's very
right.
sad.
He is. I'm just thinking about Bethany Hamilton, is that the surfer who got her arm bitten off. I'm just like, if she could get survive, whatever. But anyway,
But
but I agree with you.
she's
Shock
obviously
is
like,
different.
yeah, she's obviously an exceptional person. Like,
Yeah.
this guy's,
She also didn't have a shark that started out as like a Begging Strips commercial looking
That
for
was hunting.
her.
Yes.
And her family. And
Brody,
it already
Brody,
killed,
Brody,
and it
Brody,
already
Brody,
killed,
Yeah,
killed
exactly.
her brother. Yeah.
Including stopping sometimes, which
Yeah,
doesn't-
he's so weird because he'll like pop up out of the water and look around.
Sneaky shark. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Do you think
I
the
would have
shark?
loved for
Do you think the
be in the
shark
background.
regrets eating that one lady that was not a Brody, the one that's on the banana boat?
I
Nah, she shouldn't
It's
have
like,
been around a Brody.
I meant to get the kid, the Thea kid, or whatever her name is.
I
not
mean,
think it's just
humans are
collateral
still
damage.
delicious.
right.
Yeah, but I
right.
feel like this shark
Just
is like,
because you didn't get that steak
specific.
doesn't mean that you don't enjoy the pizza that you just had.
That's right. Oh my God. And I guarantee you, if we had somebody on this podcast who was like, a diehard shark conservationist, they'd be so offended by the way we're talking about this shark.
Absolutely.
Of course.
And so I just want to say right up, I apologize to anybody who wants to point out that sharks don't behave like any of this, and remind you.
Oh well, I
Sharks
don't
don't
think
just eat people for no reason.
anybody who watches Jaws 4. I mean, if you base your knowledge of sharks off of Jaws 4,
Yeah.
I
mean,
kind of hope, at the very least, even though sometimes it gets called out, at least watch some things during Shark Week.
Yes.
Like, don't let. I think any conservationist would kind of go, yeah, we're
sharks don't
clearly
hunt
in
families in the Bahamas.
And you know what? and you know what? T-Rex actually had really good eyesight. It's a movie.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. So I want to stop this moment because this is when we really kick into the plot, and the cast comes down and we meet them, and we really start to know Lorraine Gary. And I want to talk first about I have two things I want to talk about. The first one really is, what is a bad movie? Like we should just take a moment and ask, because the more I talk about it, the more confused I feel. I feel like it's one of those things that is actually very difficult to look directly at, because there are certainly bad movies, by which I mean a really boring movie that I just can't bear to get through. And then there are bad movies that are like capital B bad, which sometimes I think maybe this is, but or like Plan 9 from Outer Space, where there's something about the terrible choices that make it really, really good. But I mean, I guess what I'm asking is this a bad film? Or do we even know what bad movies are?
It certainly has parts of it that are bad. Like, there are some weird pacing choices. There's some terrible special effects in the finale, like just god awful, that you can't believe a big studio like Universal. I mean, I guess you can blame that on the fact that this movie was hastily made very quickly, but terrible special effects. So I mean, that stuff is certainly bad from technical standpoint, and I think this movie's reputation as like one of the worst movies. Like I see
Yeah.
this like, oh, Jaws Revenge is one of the worst movies. The fact of the matter is, no, it's probably not. It's a bad movie considering that it's got a lot of really talented people in it,
Yeah.
and the pedigree of being a sequel to Jaws, which is arguably one of the best. I won't even say best horror movies ever made, just best movies
Yes.
ever
Right.
made.
I
Like,
think you might be nailing the thing that maybe the most important thing in the question of why do people despise Jaws 4 so much? Because maybe that's a better
Well, I
question.
think, and probably people who have been listening long enough know what I'm going to say. Like, you should
Mhm.
enjoy what you enjoy, right? Like,
Yeah.
bad movie can be subjective to a lot of people. I think there's a lot of, and this actually, if you excise the, hey, this thing hunts Brodies and gave it something other framing, it wouldn't be as bad. But
Yeah.
the fact that, and there's the bits that are less believable, but
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
that as a central premise that's not the way sharks operate. Like, all of it, that's hard. It's really hard to dispel, to
I
have
think
disbelief, what I would watch this. There's some huge blockbusters where you talk about choices.
Yeah.
There's a couple where I go, why did you make this choice every time? And I cannot stand them.
Mhm.
And they cost billions of dollars. There's stuff where, like, hey, this character design, like these CG designs are awful. The
Yeah.
CG, just even if the CG looks good, this is, I don't know why you shot this way. All that stuff. But the difference is this movie has actually some really good performances and some really cool
Yeah.
bits, but the framework is just a family hunting shark without the voodoo part of it is just
Silly.
what?
Well,
Like,
the
it
also
doesn't make any
I think
sense.
there's a real problem that because Jaws is one of the finest films ever made, there's an
Oh,
extra
absolutely.
curve,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
where
I
people
mean,
are like,
how can you compare? Like,
it's
each
like you're
sequel has gotten
besmirching the
worse.
memory of Jaws by
Yeah.
having this film. So people, like, if you had released it in the summer of 1987 and just called it, like, I really don't know, Stalker Shark,
Revenge of the
and
Shark,
Revenge of
or
the Shark,
Revenge of the Great White, actually, would,
people would have
or
gone,
Great
and
White's
without
Revenge,
irony,
something
they
like
would
that.
have said something like the best trashy Jaws sequel that was
Sure.
never made.
Right.
well,
And
that's still Jaws 2, but
right.
like,
Well, yeah.
but this here's the thing. The worst movie ever made is probably something that's languishing in obscurity.
Yeah.
Like, this movie is spectacularly goofy in
Yes.
parts, which
Mhm.
makes it entertaining. And then
Right.
it's, as Tony pointed out, it's got this really interesting aspect of it, is that you've this romance between two characters in their 50s,
Yes.
which you
Oh,
don't
I want to hit
see
on that
very
in a sec. Yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah.
don't, but you don't see that very much. So there's like some stuff about it that's like campy good. There's stuff about it that's just good. So, like, I guess if you were to like qualify that as an actual film rating, I guess I would say it's more middling,
Well, I mean,
god awful. But it's also got this reputation because it also killed the franchise.
let
Like,
me
there was
ask you
never
this
another
question.
god. Okay.
Jaws 4 versus Batman Forever.
Oh, I'd watch Batman Forever over
Because I personally, I believe that the moment with Bruce Wayne at the deathbed of Alfred is actually a really good.
Batman versus Batman and Robin.
Oh, that's Batman and Robin.
Yeah. Oh,
All
fuck
right.
Which one has the ice skating stuff?
That's
Batman
Batman,
and
and Robin.
Okay,
Fuck
I
Batman.
meant Batman and
No.
Robin. Yeah, Jaws
Yeah.
4 versus Batman and
I
Robin.
will watch
Because
this every time over Batman and Robin.
the 6 minutes.
Yeah, I
when-
didn't make it.
Yeah.
I
feel I don't want to get off
take
on
away my geek card, but I
Here's the
tried that
thing.
one and
I don't want to pick on it too much.
Sure.
I really don't.
Not for me.
And I
I guess.
like Joel Schumacher a lot. I really respect Joel Schumacher. But that movie I found really assaulted to the senses and hard to watch. I found it both loud and abrasive and difficult to watch. Just like literally, I just couldn't bear to keep my eyes on it. But
it was
like
a
6
movie that I
minutes in
said.
it's pretty good.
It was a movie I said, I'm like, this isn't for me. If you enjoy it, cool,
Yes.
awesome. I mean, it has, and it does a certain thing it's trying to do, and what it was trying to do was not the thing I wanted.
So I just find it
I do
fascinating,
think
though.
that
Yeah.
you know, I don't want to talk too much ahead of myself, but the part where the sharks where they're underwater and it's kind of like chasing them through the wreckage and
It's
stuff.
a good scene. Yeah.
If
I like
that
that scene.
wasn't called Jaws, where we had Jaws, like, I mean, Spielberg's Jaws, right?
Yeah.
And then there was another movie, Revenge of the Great White, and that had a shark chasing the guy through and like ramming through wreckage and all of that. We would
Yeah.
still be going, did you see that crazy Jaws ripoff where the shark actually was like chasing
Yeah.
a guy through a wreckage?
Yeah.
But instead, you've got like flashbacks from a movie that's arguably better than this movie.
Right. And
Or, I mean, I
people
guess
call this-
everybody would probably say that the flashbacks are better. But
the only reason I brought
you
up
know.
Batman and Robin is that
Yeah.
people call Jaws 4 literally the worst sequel ever
Oh,
made.
you need to
And
watch
it's
more movies.
completely
friend.
not. Yeah, I also would bring up
I
just
could give you a
watched
list right now.
Arthur 2 on the rocks.
literally
How about that? You know?
literally before I called in here, I just finished watching Alien versus Predator 2 and or Alien versus Predator Requiem or whatever the hell you want to call it. That is a movie that they literally decided, hey, this is a movie where people have paid money to watch two monsters go at it. You know what would be a really good idea? Let's leave the lighting down the entire movie so you can't tell what the fuck is going on.
Oh no.
That is worse than this. Like this at least has characters you can latch onto, and even when the special effects are bad, you can still more or less tell what is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
I agree with
Smokey
you.
and the Bandit 3, also not a good sequel. Okay, all right. Anyway, I that probably is not even that strong a point.
I rewatch Jason Goes to Hell once a year, and I think that is probably worse than this.
Yes, and so anyway, let me get back to something Tony and you both have made reference to that I really love, and a hot take that people are going to reject me for. This is not a good movie, but I feel like the reason people rejected it is not because of the crazy shark thing, but because they did not like that the film centered a middle-aged woman. I really believe that. I believe that if it had not starred Lorraine Gary in her goofy romance with Michael Caine, if it hadn't spent all that time on that, people would have just blown it off as another shark movie, just like.
So
Jaws
you
3.
think if it was like, I don't know who would have been the hot bombshell actress of that, if it had been Kim Basinger and Jaws 4, you think people wouldn't be quite as
I
cruel
couldn't
to
even
it?
say, because of course Sigourney Weaver had been around, but you know, I mean,
But Sigourney
centering a
Weaver
woman is difficult to begin with. So
Sigourney Weaver is and was younger than Lorraine
Lorraine Gary is 50 years old. So
But
not only
it's not
she's
it's not centering a woman, because remember, she is being kind of rescued by the sexy, quote unquote sexy, island guy with the plane. So I agree that if it was Kim Basinger, however you pronounce her name, that with some other sexy, Alec Baldwin, well, not Alec Baldwin
At the
anymore,
time.
but Alec Baldwin throughout the day,
Yeah.
being the guy with the plane, that would definitely have worked better for people.
I really, so the thing is, because I'm a man of a certain age, I totally enjoyed this like relationship. She's got this grief stuff. It's really, I
Yeah,
thought
me
she's
too.
so darn good at showing her illness really with grief. How she will suddenly just break out in dry heaves.
Look, you're
you know.
not
And
wrong
not just
about
grief,
that.
but like fear about her family.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's
You're not-
again why this movie, it's like there's so many good bits hung on just this
Ridiculous
I watch
plot,
a lot of
yeah.
I love ridiculous movies, like I like it, but again, you have a pedigree of a Jaws movie, and even though we've had 2 and 3, which by 3 you should know, maybe 4, I don't know,
Yeah.
but it also, and because this one also has those flashbacks too, that's the other thing, is this is directly, it centers around the Brody family. You talk about, there's a picture of Chief Brody, all this stuff, and so when you have these great moments, and I think there's a lot of cool stuff, not just in the romance part, but you have a lot of people doing really good work.
Hmm.
But you're your danger is that Jaws was really good,
Yes.
and you're hanging this like chase shark chases people around the world plot around that is where it just I know we keep coming back to it, but that's really the part that people go, what the what?
Right.
Although
They can't get past it. No, that's fair.
the funny
Yeah.
thing about it is that this is almost the blueprint of how they do these quote unquote legacy sequels
Right.
Yeah.
that they do
Right.
now, like the Halloween reboot and the Candyman reboot, and in fact the Ghostbusters reboot that we talked about,
Yeah.
like heavily tying something back to a first film, like is the new go-to
Mhm.
thing. Like, and they're
That's true.
doing the other one with Texas Chainsaw Massacre next year.
Really?
So yeah, so like it is interesting to me that this was maligned at the time.
Yeah.
And like look, I've said this before, I enjoy movies that are about adults, like
Mm.
because there's like so many, like one of the things I think I appreciate most about a lot of the Marvel movies
Mhm.
is they tend to like Robert Downey Jr. is not like an old
He's in his
man.
50s.
He
Yeah, but
but
he's in his
he's
50s, and
yeah,
we're
he's
supposed to take him seriously as an emotional being. Yeah.
yeah. I prefer I don't I kind of prefer that to a
Mhm.
degree. Like I mean I can latch on to movies that are about teens and kids and things like that. And but there's something, you're not wrong. There's something really cool about this. And again, as much as Michael Caine likes the dog on this movie, or did dog on this movie back
Yeah.
in the day, I think he's fun. Like I
He
think
is
their
good.
relationship's
No,
just
he's
fun.
lovely.
Yeah,
The
he's
relationship is
clearly having a
good.
good time on the island.
Yeah, I mean, it's
And well, it's not just that though. The family relationship's actually good. Like her concern for her son
yeah.
and
For sure,
all of
absolutely.
that. All the things that would make a Jaws 4 that tried to be like the first Jaws would
Yeah.
be to ditch the revenge part and actually deal with the trauma. I mean, maybe that's not as
I have no idea
bankable,
what you would do if you started
but
pulling
all
this
the
apart, but
trauma
yeah.
bits and all the stuff that's
Well,
interfamily is actually really good in this movie.
what's
Yeah.
also really great about this with the holiday setting is that you're dealing
Yeah.
with all this family turmoil and family loss. Like there's like a line early on from the
Mhm.
little girl where she says, "Oh, what about, I can't remember the character's name, but what about Uncle so and so, is he ever coming back?"
Yeah.
And you're juxtapositioning that against Christmas and New Year's, which are inherently times that people are spending with their family anyway, and it
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
becomes really heart-wrenching, and I
Absolutely. Yeah.
love it
And
for
seeing
that.
that with the kid who's she says, well, Uncle Sean's dead, but is he coming back?
Right.
Because she doesn't understand how that all works yet.
Yeah.
And that and everybody kind of, all the adults kind of look around like, oh, we don't want to, it's the parents' job to kind of tell her this, but how do we?
Yeah.
Anytime you've been at a funeral gathering or a wake with a bunch of kids, and there's usually something that gets said, and everybody kind of has to go, wow, this is real, you know. And
Yeah,
those bits are actually really, really
that
good.
and that brings me back to something that I don't think I've had occasion to think about for a long time while we've been doing this show. But there have been times in the past when we've reviewed movies and I've said sometimes I'll enjoy a movie strictly literally for just like one moment. And this movie has two or three good moments that I
Well,
that I
and
re- that I
the
really
thing
dig.
with at the table with the little girl mirroring the dad, just like he
Yeah,
had
that's
done
good
with his
stuff.
dad.
I like it
Yeah.
when they're hanging out at the casino in the Bahamas on their little date, because we haven't mentioned yet, but Mario Van Peebles is here as the best friend of.
Do you know he wrote his own part for this movie?
What does that mean?
I don't know. I just that he wrote the
So he
lines,
wrote
I
his own
guess.
lines. That's hilarious. So
Yeah.
Lance Guest and Mario Van Peebles play Mike Brody and Jake. They are a couple of PhD candidates who are doing under Bahamian snail studies, and
At one
they
point, Jason goes, "'Cause I'm a scientist," and then right after that, he goes, "We're scientists, Mom.
right. It literally was
Right.
the next line.
We're
Yeah.
sciencing."
but I really loved kind of their relationship and their diving, and it just kind of feels like, man, I want to live in this world. It's exactly how I felt about Jaws 3. All the people hanging out at Waterworld. Um,
Although
so all
he's
that's cool.
once the shark actually attacks him, he's
Yes.
kind of a bad son for not going, Mom, you
Get
might be
this.
right about this killer
Yep.
shark.
Yep.
Well, I mean, even before that, the point that he's like, oh yeah, my brother was killed by a shark, and now my mom's super freaked out by it. But sure, I'm gonna go ahead and go with your plan of let's go chase the shark. I mean, I'm like,
Yes,
dude,
that
why?
actually is one of the silliest and most
Ugh,
unforgivable things in
I
the
was
whole
so
script.
mad about that.
I
Although
I
it's
want to
it's
Well,
kind of
also,
Then he keeps
like,
it secret. They're like rightfully outraged that he didn't tell their
right.
own family
yeah.
that there was a great white around. And by the way, maybe the kids shouldn't be in the water. He's like the mayor of the first movie.
Yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah.
here's the
That's true.
thing. If we are assuming that at least Jaws 2 is in continuity, like if we're
Yes.
we're gonna be like, okay, we're ignoring Jaws 3 for some reason.
Yeah.
This is a guy that has been attacked by a giant shark at least twice in his
Yeah.
And his
life.
brother has just been killed by one. Just.
Yeah,
that's true.
like, he can't be going. It's preposterous. People are never attacked by giant sharks. That sort of thing never
Correct.
No,
happened.
because
And
they were
he
in the
could
lagoon when Mike was there. Yeah,
Well, and he
he's
could
Right.
been through all this
legitimately
stuff.
say they don't have those in the Bahamas until he freaking sees it and gets
Right.
attacked by it, like you said.
And his
Then it's
partner
like,
says,
no,
"Oh, what do you
no.
know? There's a great white
Yeah,
here.
that was
That's really wild. We
nuts.
got to study it like scientists." And he's like,
It's
"Yeah,
like,
that is."
no, that's
I
not not for me.
I do want to mention the young lady who plays. I love the really sort of out of the box family going on here, because again, these are our main characters in a time when your main characters are usually unattached teenagers, having sex, and there's just sort of this free floating notion of people relating to one another. In this one, there's a whole damn family. There's grandma, she's on dates with this pilot guy. There's this young couple, they have a kid. There's another couple they're hanging out with. There's a hell of a lot of work being done by the script to create all these relationships, and it's more work than they needed. They didn't need a little girl.
Yeah.
Karen Young plays Carla. She plays Lance Guest's wife. Karen Young actually shows up in one of my favorite movies, which is Night Game, which is a serial killer movie starring Roy Scheider, which is funny. So you can get a lot of Kevin Bacon points with this film, because Karen Young plays Roy Scheider's rather young wife in Night Game, and that's a good movie. You should watch that. So anyway,
It's
Where
funny you mentioned that Mario Van Peebles wrote his own lines, because
yeah,
anytime Jake's not in friend mode,
yes,
he's kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
Like he's not, it's kind of surprising that he wrote all of that. There's really great parts where you get the friendship part, and all the stuff on the island actually is pretty decent.
yes,
Like it's not maybe
hanging out
super
with their
Oscar
wives
material,
and doing
but
whatever they do. Yeah,
and their relationship where he comes in and Jake's wife is working, and then she gets dressed up and they're like, hey, let's celebrate, I just got off my shift. All of that stuff is actually good drama,
Yeah.
Personal drama stuff. And then they get chased by a shark, and even
Yeah,
the
you
chased by
kinda
a shark part would be good, except
almost to the point where I'd be
premise.
like, maybe Jaws 4 would be better if we just cut the shark out of it. I mean, like
because you
Well, I
have
mean,
really
it's
good
all
actors
of
and
this.
actresses.
All
You-
of this
you
is
have- you
making
have
me
really
happy.
good cast doing
Yeah.
good work, but then they've got to contend with
Yeah.
And
this
I know we
Brody
have other
shark.
stuff to talk about, but I'd kind of like to fast forward to the ending, because
Yeah,
it's
let's get to
the
Act
Mario Van
3.
Peebles thing, which is I really hate the new quote unquote the second new ending, the second ending that they filmed where Mario Van Peebles is alive. I'm like, why?
It's so
He
it's
does
so
this
dumb.
so
discuss
dumb.
let's
That's
discuss
like
what happens in
that's
Act
like
3.
Quint showing up at the end of the original. Like,
Well,
like
so
especially
dumb.
because they already did that trick, because Michael Caine. Well, you know what? Let's just start with Act 3, and that's what's important,
Agreed,
because
agreed.
shark attacks. Then the shark attacks the beach, and Lorraine Gary goes,
she's like,
"By go-
I'm gonna go have revenge.
I'm gonna go get that shark."
Well,
She
I
goes,
don't know
"That's
what she's
enough," and she goes and
thinking,
grabs the
because
boat.
See,
heads
I
out
think
into
the only
the
plan she has
ocean.
is just to lure it out into the ocean because she doesn't have any weapons. So it's not like
This
she's
is
going
true.
Right.
to kill it.
The
Maybe
boat
she just
is
wants to
the
get it away
weapon.
from.
Well,
Well,
in the
Apparently,
end,
you can
in
make
the
things
end,
explode with a boat.
oh no,
if
my
well, he had a
understanding.
grenade. He had an explosive inside of him. It just hadn't gone off
Let me
until.
give you my explanation of what happens in the end,
And then
and
there is an
then
explanation that is provided officially. But
okay,
go ahead.
is that the Mario Van Peebles has built this electrical charge thing that they're gonna have the shark swallow, and it's going to send electrical charges and make it go crazy. But it turns out it is explosive. So when she pierces it through the shark, in
But
other
that
words,
doesn't.
it blows up.
But it's not explosive. It's a strobe. It's electrical.
But
It's
it's
There's
But
made
I'm
of
nothing
just saying
explosive.
that
explosive
appears
about
to be
that.
what
Originally,
happened.
the
Then.
shark was just going to be impaled, and
Yeah.
audiences didn't think that was exciting enough.
That is
Mhm.
exactly what happened. In
Right.
the as originally filmed, she impaled the shark, and it just bled and sank to the
Well, we should
That's what
bring
should
up
have
though
happened.
ocean floor.
that there is an exciting shark chase sequence well before this, which is actually
Yes,
it is
I'm sorry, I
ridiculous,
should have
but
mentioned that.
also
Yeah,
he's in the submarine and the shark actually busts through
yes,
a
it's a
wreckage, which
submersible,
is
so it's got water all in it. It's not. It's not. Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But like the whole "I'm gonna chase you through a wreck" is ridiculous.
It's a
And
really good
I'm
scene.
saying
It
that
really is.
if
Yeah.
it had not had the Jaws name attached to it, we would still probably go, "Oh man, I saw that movie. Wasn't that crazy? How like he thought he was safe and a shark bust through the side of a
Yeah.
wrecked of a boat." And all of that is pretty insane.
Great.
And he's got to think like, how am I going to get out of this? And all of that actually, yes, it's kind of ridiculous, but also that's kind of why I like B movie monster movies.
Absolutely.
So there's a certain amount of like fun in amongst the like, really, it's just chasing down like my Brody radar is going off. I know I got to get this guy.
Well, also the mechanical shark probably looks the best in this sequence.
Oh yes.
Like anytime they
Yeah,
have
yeah,
it
yeah.
towards the surface, its deficiencies
Oh,
are
yeah.
much more clear.
Yeah. I mean, it's and even to the point where I go, the shark can't fit in there, right? And they just do it. They're just like, it fits sometimes, and when he doesn't fit, he just shoves his way through.
Yes.
What a shark
And
does.
and they're doing all kinds of like Lance Guest is doing all kinds of Jackie Chan shit with this shark, where he's like getting behind a ladder and the ladder's pushing on the shark is like jamming it against him, and yeah, it's
I mean, that's monster movie stuff that I
yes,
like.
it's great. It
It's
is.
every
It's
bit
great.
as good as any other,
Oh man.
alligator, whatever you name the animal.
Yes.
That's every bit as good B movie monster movie stuff as
Well,
as
think like
anything.
Deep Blue Sea. Nobody goes, "Oh,
Piranha.
don't watch Deep Blue Sea." That's a dumb idea that they would experiment on sharks.
Or piranha being like.
Yeah.
The piranha too. They fly. They fly.
Yes. So not more again, not necessarily more ridiculous, but just
Yeah.
the way that they frame it. And I think also, I hate to beat a dead horse on this, but
Yes.
when you got all the other good stuff,
Yeah.
it's one of these cases where you have something that's really good. The stuff that's not as good is even more incongruous.
Yeah.
Like you just notice it more. So when you really ground it, and with all these other great performances, that's again why the premise. I've said my piece about that, but like that, I think that's why people go, "Oh, this is crap."
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, in
Absolutely.
amongst like, it doesn't make much sense to crash your plane into the shark, or why you couldn't fly and then somebody jump out and swim, like all that
Yes.
stuff. Where we get a Michael Caine, he crashes his plane and then gets bit, but he doesn't. He's back. Like
Yes. So Michael Caine gets attacked by the shark when his plane is sinking, but he manages apparently to swim away from it and climb up onto the boat. And then Mario Van Peebles, being valiant, gets grabbed by the shark in its jaws and like thrashed.
Well,
and pulled
after
down.
so the plan is that there's a strobe light thing that's going to make the shark crazy.
Yes.
And push it to the surface, and then and which also, by the way, is in the Nintendo game. That's how you you get this strobe
That
thing.
must
I
have been
remember
very
playing,
helpful.
like, I
actually,
guess that works like sharks do. I don't
no,
know.
but I mean, for you to have read that must have been super helpful for you to like now watching this movie and go, oh yeah, they're gonna push the shark
The
up
strobe thing,
because of the strobe.
and
Yes,
and you have to impale the shark at the end. That's how you win the game, is to impale.
right.
It's not easy. It's pretty. It's up there with the Friday the 13th game as far as like this is more of a chore and a novelty than actual fun
Yeah.
game. But again, when you're bored and that's all you have to play, sometimes you just play the Jaws game for like a lot.
Sure.
Or at least I did. But yeah, so they're gonna do this thing and impale it. But that whole sequence, like there's so many different things you could do, I think, rather than crashing your plane. Oh
Yes.
man, but again, the more I think about it, I do kind of wish we had a Michael Caine as a, ne'er-do-well smuggler,
I'd like to see more of
gambler.
his
I
character.
would
That's true.
definitely watch. I would watch the Hoagie movie.
Yes. No, for sure.
Hands down.
So yes. So apparently here's where we disconnect. So like we have this act 3, Mario Van Peebles gets dragged away after putting the so Mario Van Peebles strobe in the mouth of Jaws. Mario Van Peebles dies because Jaws grabs him, drags him under the water. Jaws is now going crazy because of the strobe effect, and he lifts himself up out of the water and roars at Mrs. Brody, who stabs him through the heart with the ship.
Like fucking Dracula.
Yes.
Right. But here's the thing: they're just
Maybe it's
the
a
more- now I
vampire
think-
shark. Maybe
Yes.
That's what the deal is.
Now the more I think of it now too, they have all these engine problems. That boat just doesn't, it's not a speedboat. It's not like
Right.
you can all of a sudden just thrust a
Right.
boat. And somehow we do.
Yes.
Well, she has special mom anger that drives.
I mean,
the boat.
that's true.
That seems to be the case. That seems
But-
to be what's
but,
going
like,
If
on.
now
if
the
a
more I
mom
think
can
about
lift,
it-
if a mom can lift a car off of her kid, a
Sure.
mom can make the boat go
Make
into
the
a
boat go
shark.
That's
faster.
true.
So
The shark
Right.
anyway,
killed her
that
too.
all happens, and then here comes the reshoots because stabbing the shark wasn't enough. So now we do a really
Which
poorly
I
edited.
really disagree with
No, I
that.
agree.
Like
Yeah, you're right.
I've seen the original ending. It's easy to find on YouTube, and I think that like impaling the shark, like that shit was dope as hell. Like
Yeah,
they-
that part's
Sure.
fine. I just don't like the stupid Mario
Well,
Van
as
Peebles being
it's
alive
seen in
part.
the final movie,
Mhm.
it's been re-edited. So she stabs it, and then it's like somebody cut the film with a cleaver, and all of a sudden it blows up. Boom.
Boom.
Well, and
And then,
she's
you
also
know-
remembering all these scenes from
Of
the
Roy
original
Scheider
Jaws.
shooting at it. Ugh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which she wasn't there to see.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's also just needlessly, it just drags it out. It's unimportant. Who?
Well, what is it that they say in the movie making books? Don't remind people of a better movie when you're
Yeah, no
making
kidding.
your yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, all true. So yes, anyway, and then after that, it blows up. So now the half blown up shark sinks, and now, which I think is reused footage from an earlier movie, I believe. And then Mario Van Peebles, like Michael Caine, just like 8 minutes ago, Mario Van Peebles himself now like calls out and goes, "Hey, I'm not dead yet.
And
I'm
makes
floating over here."
jokes. He makes
Yes,
jokes.
even
It's
though
all
Exactly
just,
what you do
you know,
when you've been bitten.
He's
by a shark.
grievously
bleeding
wounded,
out.
and but
Unlike
apparently
the-
he's going to be fine.
See, that's what I'm saying about like this guy is like literally pretty much dead. Maybe he's now the vampire shark thing is making me think different about this movie very differently because maybe he's been
wonderful idea.
vamped.
He's gonna turn into a
That's
weird
why-
shark.
That's why he's in a better place because the one who got his arm ripped off, he was not in a cheerful making jokes kind of mood. But maybe that he wasn't given whatever the vamp thing is that this one, the shark.
You're right.
You know,
Yeah.
You know what I
provided.
kept going over though with Mario Van Peebles' character is I kept wondering how much the people who wrote Futurama, how much they based Hermes Conrad on this character.
I hadn't thought about that. Yes.
Every time, like when he's speaking and the way he operates, like I just kept, I'm like, no, that can't be he can't be part of that character, right?
Yeah.
But then I'm unsure.
That's
Just because of his attitude and the way he handles like a lot of science stuff and everything.
Yeah.
It's not just the accent is the accent, right? Like you're gonna do that. But the accent plus the way he operates
It's
kept
just so
making me
nutty.
wonder like nah. I kind of I don't know. I'd be curious. That's a question I would ask.
I agree
That was a
because
deep- that's a
also the
deep cut
dreadlocks,
question I would
right?
ask somebody a writer on Futurama, like, so is there any part of Jake
Yeah.
in Hermes? Like I said, that, I don't mean this to be like a stereotype, like, oh, his accent or whatever, but just the accent plus how he operates. I just kept coming back to that.
Yeah. No, I thought about that, and right down to the off the shoulder dreads and the glasses and everything. Yes. Yeah. Is there even, forgive me, but once that shark is dead, that's the end, right? I mean, Mario
Yeah, well, they
shows up,
cut
he
to
goes,
like, oh, hey, it's good thing that Jake is alive, right? Like, oh
and then
yeah,
that's it,
hey,
right?
we're gonna
And
go.
now they're
Oh
floating
wait,
in
gonna
no,
the
fly
there is
off
middle
with
of the
a
water.
Michael Caine.
stinger. There's a stinger at the end because Michael Caine, I guess, has traded in insurance money for a better plane, and
Right.
he and Lorraine Gary are going to fly off and have fun adventures.
Yeah.
So, which makes me happy because the Bahamas are beautiful. So that's all
Oh,
right.
and then hopefully we'll get like an older, of a certain age version of Romancing the Stone.
Yes.
In an alternate world, the Jaws 4 sequel of,
Yeah, Jaws 5, and they're doing some other
well, not
adventure
even,
thing.
it's just whatever it's called, Ellen
You're right.
Hoagie's adventures in sort of Romancing the Stone territory.
Yes, you're right. It could be
Somewhere in
called
the
anything.
multiverse that happened.
It's
I don't know where.
I'm not quite finding the sandwich tie-in, but I feel like there's a funny pun that you could make a title out of that involves hoagies. I
Yes.
don't know.
Sure.
Yes. So that's the end of the
A
movie.
hoagie for lunch, a hoagie for dinner. I don't know.
I don't.
Anyway. Yes,
we'll
but that,
workshop that
yeah.
and come up with
Mhm,
something
mhm.
that. It does have a lot of Christmas, and that does make it, a good thing to discuss. It does not make it a Christmas movie.
I think this is
But Drew will
more.
disagree. Go ahead. Yes.
Well, no, I think okay. So Gremlins is a Christmas movie. Batman Returns is a Christmas movie because Christmas ties into the plot.
Well, I mean, maybe
think you
this one
can-
is too, because this is
I
also
think
a
You know,
Christmas movie.
I think you can make an argument that this is a Christmas movie, but I would also understand if you were like, no, this is a shark movie that just happens to take place during the Christmas season. I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to wax semantics here, but I think it's for the purposes of it being our Christmas episode. It is
Mhm.
certainly Christmassy
This
enough.
is our Christmas movie.
I mean,
Yes.
like,
Dadgummit.
yeah, I mean, I'd rather watch this than like something that has a slasher and a Santa Claus outfit, like
Yay,
this is
yes. Oh, you
yeah.
know what? Here's my hot take. This is my new hot take, and I don't have very many of them actually because I try not to do. I am so sick of arguing over what's a damn Christmas movie.
Yeah.
That I just want to go out there and say, I don't care. Whatever
Yeah.
Christmas movies you love to watch during Christmas, it's all a Christmas movie.
I like that.
If
That's good.
if it's Independence Day is the movie you watch during Christmas, guess what? It's not July 4th anymore. It's a freaking Christmas movie. Just have at it.
That is a
Can
worthy
we
hill
stop
to die
fucking
on.
arguing about this and go? Like, I guess some people.
Thank
love
you.
to
No, I'm
argue
really happy to
semantics,
hear you say this.
But I am so utterly. I think
Yeah.
it's one of the most boring, pedantic BS.
All
Let
right,
me
I'm
throw
with you.
some hot take bullshit out.
Well,
I'm just in my house. If you say this is a Christmas movie, cool. In your house, every movie can be a Christmas movie all year if you want. I don't care, especially during these times. Whatever makes
Excellent.
you happy, because
I've heard you say a
all of
similar
it.
thing about rock opera. Like, you're like, I'm so bored by this debate. It is not important to debates. Yeah, I agree with you. You know what?
Now,
I'm with you, my
people
friend.
may argue like it's important to delineate things and in the film sphere, you want to make sure that there's reasons you have nomenclature. The whole argument of like, is this a cereal? Is oatmeal a blah blah blah? Like all that food, is a hot dog a sandwich? I guess we have like taxonomy exists because we catalog animals and plants, etc. Right? So I guess in the realm of film taxonomy, it matters, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the realm of enjoying something, oh damn, can we just stop?
Well, I want to follow you up with this. I am literally writing a book about this kind of thing, and I am going to include some stuff about Jaws 4 in my chapter on Christmas themed horror movies. So for the purposes of this podcast, we are in the clear because I'm literally writing the book on it. So,
And by the way, throwing that out there may get me ostracized from film Twitter or some other forum. But
no, man,
you know,
because they're too busy arguing on whether or not Die Hard is a Christmas movie. They won't ignore
right.
you.
What I'm saying is though that to a lot of people this matters a lot, and I have decided that it matters not much at all.
Yeah.
I guess, and again, this goes back to my idea. My central thesis of that though is there's a lot of movies that we tend to bond with as families.
Yes.
Like we have our Thanksgiving movies and our Halloween movies and our like we have all these things.
Yeah.
And so to some people that's important, but what I don't get is arguing over it and people actually going like
and getting
I
upset.
guess that's why
agree
I'm so even keel. Maybe that's it. And also, like I said, the past 2 years have taught me. I think when we interviewed Lars, like he had the same idea. Like if you enjoy something, like screw this guilty pleasure crap. If you enjoy Jaws 4, don't feel bad about enjoying Jaws 4 or any movie, even if I disagree with you about like something. You like, big action blockbuster. I don't know. If you enjoy Bayformers, I don't know.
Yeah.
More power to you, whatever. I don't find myself rewatching them. But I mean, somebody watched them. They made that much money. I have cool in the gang, dig it, and that's why I don't know. It seems like there's more important things, and although I kind of do wish there was a part of this shark where he it would really solidify the Christmas thing if he'd accidentally pulled some lights into the water and there was lights around his fin. And
oh man, that would have been great. Actually,
been
I would have enjoyed it. I mean, without irony, it would have been really cool if he had had blinking lights wrapped around.
I mean,
or if one of the kids on the banana boat had been like, "Oh, here, I'm gonna put a Santa hat on this fin."
Right.
And then he was filled with the spirit of Christmas, and his heart grew 10 times bigger. He decided not to eat the Brody family after all.
No, his heart grew 3 sizes bigger and exploded. That's what happened.
Oh, there
he
you
was
go.
so filled with the Christmas Bahama spirit that by hitting him with a boat, he exploded.
I will promise from here
Luckily,
on
the Grinch
out.
didn't do that. That'd be terrifying for kids.
I'm not going to argue anymore ever about whether something is because I am thoroughly and completely and without irony convinced by your speech, and I'm not going to argue.
I mean, like I said, a lot of people are going to be like, no, it's important because, and again, go with grace. If it is important because, and I get it, again, I'm going to go with the taxonomy thing. I get why it's important in film discussion to have that taxonomy.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely, there's no argument there. However, every year we do Die Hard, I don't know. But it's not just Die Hard, it's all this other stuff. Well, actually.
Well, as with a million things that we've talked about, everybody who is getting their backup is using the same words to mean different things, which is so tiresome because that's so obvious, right? You can tell. This person over here is means one thing when he says Christmas movie, and somebody else means something else.
Although tomorrow we're going to have someone on Facebook saying why this is not a Christmas movie, and they're gonna go at it into great length.
Listen, I may. This is how me doing a rant like that is why people often go. I hate that guy. He sucks, and that's I mean, if that happens, I guess I'll be sad because I don't like people hating me. But that's how I feel.
No, but I think it's fair. But I was going to say we've had people mad at us because they don't think we use the phrase "satanic panic" right, and I'm just like, I would
say that happened a few times, but I'll be damned But here's one thing I will say to that person: I'll be damned.
On the show, though.
We did.
We've gone into what is and what isn't
and it's possible,
Christmas
in fact,
movie,
that I was being
a Satanic Panic movie.
Well, I even said then that I was being a pedantic asshole when I was talking about that.
Also, by the way, growing up in the Bible Belt and during Satanic Panic, if they're really thinking we don't know what Satanic Panic is, I will.
Could it be Santa?
I have a lot of things to say to that person. If
we're all
I don't
well
know
aware.
What the fuck Satanic Panic actually was. Yeah.
Right. I'm with you. Anyway, I want to get to, we usually get our final thoughts. So let's get our final thoughts, and I want to get into endorsements because I got something super fun to share. All right. Julia, I'm sure that we didn't discuss this at nearly the depth that we probably should have discussed Jaws 4. But if there's anything...
It's kind of funny, but yes.
I'm hilarious. Oh,
But
things that you never thought you'd hear someone say.
Thank
Oh.
you for being here, everybody. Joya, what was your final thought on Jaws 4?
Yeah, I think I don't know if I haven't broken it down into thirds, but I agree with Drew that it starts out a better movie than it ends. The ending to me, and I'd like to watch the other ending because the ending to me was just so stupid. Like I was just so irritated by it that it left me with a bad taste. But I feel like there was a lot of good things in it. I think they did their best with the time. Apparently, they didn't have a lot of time to work on it, and so I'm sure they did their best with the time they had. And then, as far as the script goes, I think they were just like, what? By the time they came up with this idea, they were like, just whatever is what I read. That they were like,
Mm.
oh, good, something that's approved. Let's just go because they were exhausted. So, it's fine. And so, but I did, like I say, enjoy some parts, and I really enjoyed Michael Caine. I think the most. I enjoyed Mario Van Peebles, but I don't know. It was not my favorite performance of his. But yeah, I think it's not. I was definitely did not regret watching it. It was enjoyable. It had Christmas in it, so I'm going to count it as a Christmas movie for my purposes. So I'm good.
Wonderful, thank you. Drew, what are your final thoughts?
I think this was I'm going to pat myself on the back and say that I am so glad that I
Yeah.
threw this out there to be the movie we close 2021 with, because this was just a blast. Like, talking about this movie for like the last hour and a half has been a true and genuine pleasure and the best Christmas gift I could give myself. So on that note, I had a good time watching this movie. I had an even time discussing it. No regrets. I don't blame anybody for saying that they would never watch this movie again. But I think if you revisit it, you will find that it is not without its charms. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Wonderful. Tony, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, it solidified me shaking my fist. That's just Nintendo game that again, it's awful. Dig it up if you can. I have to check it. I don't know if it's rare or if it's cheap. I haven't collected carts in a while, but I'm sure there's a playthrough on YouTube or something if you want to. Now it all makes a lot more sense. I think there's the makings of actually a really decent human drama, and maybe even one or two, at least one solid B movie in this. But together, it's a little, not exactly oil and water, but it's a couple. Maybe it's like drinking orange juice after you drink your coffee or something. It's like not terrible, but not maybe the best. Everybody's doing their best with this script, and there's some good bits, but it is when you know Jaws, the original, it's really tough to, especially when you're making so many callbacks to it. Like all of the scenes kind of become way more apparent when you do that. And I would totally agree if somebody's like, that movie's, I do not enjoy that movie. I don't know why you covered this. I get it, but I think there's enough kind of enjoyable parts. If you like this cast, seeing them in it is actually pretty cool. And it's hard to catch a bad Michael Caine movie.
Yeah.
It's hard to catch a movie where Michael Caine is bad. Let's put it that way. Like, he elevates. I'll watch a lot of Michael Caine. I think he's, fascinating actor, and he's done a lot of great work. And even not as good Michael Caine still has Michael Caine in it.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I think how he plays Hoagie is actually cool. And he even, he's a smuggler too. Like, hey, what do you do when you don't do? Oh, I haul laundry. And this is like kind of coy. Like you're like, oh, I get it. That stuff's great. Again, I hope people don't hate me for my rant.
No,
but I just feel, there's other things I'd rather talk about or discuss that seem perhaps more important. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah. But I think it's enjoyable. I think we've got kind of like, I think Halloween 3 is actually I would rather watch it than this one. But I think they both have that kind of similar, like, whoa, what? Wait, what? kind of effect to them. And I think that's what kind of makes this interesting.
Absolutely.
But I will go with Drew that it's been fun discussing it because I had only seen bits of it on cable, which is why all the other bits were such a revelation to me. So
Wonderful.
yeah.
And I apologize for when we get so excited that I interrupted you because it's awful. So, I'll endeavor to do better next year. The I really, really will. And I think the funny thing is, I had great hopes for this movie. That my theory that it was completely rejected because of just outright misogyny. I had hopes that that would be true, but the movie's actually got enough problems that that's probably not the case. But it sure feels like that's part of it. Like people, just outright
For
just
what
weren't.
it's worth, I think you're onto something there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's plenty of people, plenty of dudes who are like, "Why am I spending all this time watching this grandma and her new date?" Like with his old. So I think there's an element to that, but the movie has major problems. So I want to see way more movies about women. All due respect, my own age, having adventures and killing sharks and all that stuff. So I didn't watch this movie until this past year. This is my first time watching it. This right now was my second time watching it in life. I definitely did not watch it when it came out. So it's been so interesting, and like I say, way more interesting than a lot of other sequels. So I'm really glad that I watched it, and I kind of encourage our listeners to go watch it. And you've heard this discussion, so you know exactly what you're getting into. So I'm not misrepresenting it, but yeah, I would say not a good movie, but I very much enjoyed it. So okay, let's do endorsements. I want to hear what you guys have been up to. Uh, Julia, I mean, what I know that we've watched some movies. It feels like it's been a bewildering week, so I have no idea. Other than Kloosterfunk, I don't know. What are you going to endorse?
Yeah, that is a good one, actually. I don't know if you were going to endorse that, but
No, so
yeah,
feel free. Yeah,
yeah. So Jason is. I'm not going to say Jason because it's not me. Jason is on as I think has been on for many years a Hallmark Christmas movie kick. I am not that
right.
person. However, I do enjoy a good Hallmark Christmas movie parody, and
Yeah,
that's what we had with the Kloosterfunk Christmas. I think what's it called?
yes.
Is that all? It's just like
It's called
Kloosterfunk.
a Kloosterfunk
Yeah,
Christmas. Yes.
it is Anna Gasteyer and Rachel Dratch made this
Oh
parody,
my.
and it
Yes.
stars that I don't know the actress's name, but the chick who plays Heather in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and it's just really, really. Oh, and Cheyenne Jackson.
Vella
It's
Lavelle is
really, yeah, she's great. It's so funny. It's just really fun. So if you can find that, I think it's probably on. If I had to guess, I'd say it's on the Peacock, maybe because I think it was on
Mhm.
NBC. I don't know, but
it's
anyway.
actually no, it's on Comedy Central.
Oh, Comedy
And
Central.
it's
Thank you.
running a lot. I
Good,
mean,
good, good.
God knows. I
Yeah.
mean, it's probably all over
Yeah, that's a
cable, but
great one to endorse because that was really, really fun. Yeah, because I was
That
trying to think. I'm like,
sounds
what have I watched?
that sounds
yeah,
amazing because Rain really loves Hallmark movies, and by proxy, I watch a lot of them because I'm
right.
in the
Yeah.
room.
Mhm.
Whether or not I'm playing the Switch or not, or actually enjoying them, or you know.
Yeah.
But I feel you on that, and that sounds like right up our alley too. So
It's
Oh, you
hilarious.
definitely, yeah, do your search on this and just set it to record because it was good.
It's like
Um,
it's cluster funk with an e at the end and umlauts over the u's.
I tweeted that it was awesome, and Anna Gasteyer retweeted me. I'm very proud
Woohoo!
of this. Yes.
nice.
So that made my month. Yeah. So all right, thank you, Julia. Drew, what about you?
First of all, shout out to Monster Movie Happy Hour for the excellent episode they just did on a favorite Hammer film, The Devil Rides Out. If you have
Yes.
not listened to that yet, you should all go listen to that immediately after you're done listening to us.
Awesome.
Um, but let's see, lots of things. First of all, I have been enjoying a Danish horror mini series that has just popped up on Netflix called Elves, not to be confused with the terrible late 80s Nazi mutant versus Grizzly Adams horror film Elves. This is a I said this on Twitter. Imagine Gremlins meets Midsummer, because it's like sort of halfway in between being this folk horror thing and halfway between being this monster thing. And it's
Huh.
just fascinating. And I need more horror that is like this. Like I am so over the Santa slasher trope. Like I understand it's interesting at times to start that, but like I much rather see this sort of folkloric stuff play out. So I've been enjoying it. I've been watching it in short goes, but I honestly think it probably would have been better to watch it all at once because the episodes are so short that I think it probably should have been edited together and just have been a film. But it's worth watching no matter how you view it. Chucky, the first season of Chucky just ended, and I have raved about it for the last several weeks. I feel like every endorsement, but just a gift to horror fans. Like they did everything right with this show. So I think that last thing I'm gonna go on my last endorsement of 2021. Man, I don't see enough people talking about Yellow Jackets. Yellow Jackets is a show that's on
All right, what is this?
Showtime.
Because people are telling me to watch it, and I haven't looked it up enough. So what's
Man,
the deal?
it is kind of a take on Lord of the Flies.
Okay.
But not exactly that. So what you have is they have two concurrent storylines. You have the story of an all-girl soccer team called the Yellow Jackets who crash land in the Rockies back in the 90s.
Okay.
And the heinous things they have to do to survive in the wilderness.
Okay.
Then you have fast forward to present day, you have a storyline where you follow the remaining members of the team as adults as they're trying to uncover some kind of mystery as to there's somebody stalking them and they're trying to figure out who it is. And it's got a hell of a cast. It's got Juliette Lewis and Christina Ricci in it for one. And it's crazy town though. Like it's definitely not for the faint of heart. Like the very first episode begins with cannibalism and it just goes bonkers from there. So definitely not for the faint of heart, but like it's really good. Like it's if I wasn't having to watch it once a week, I probably would have watched the whole thing by now. Like it's good.
All right. Well, excellent tip. That's fantastic. Tony, what about you?
I am sort of drawing a blank, but I have been watching the Once Upon a Time in China box set from Criterion, which looks really great. I also a while back got Ricky-O, the story of Ricky from Arrow, and boy, that bonkers movie gets me every time.
Yes.
I wish I lived in another alternate dimension. I wish I lived in was the one where that team went on to make a Fist of the North Star movie. Because if any group of people could make an effective Fist of the North Star, exploding heads, going crazy movie, that team, the team who made the story of Ricky, could make that. But and then a bunch of kind of random stuff. Castlevania Game Boy collection has come out, and that's where I spent a lot of time just kind of staying outside. And then I've also been writing new Deserts of Mars tunes. We're finally making a lot of headway in that regard. It's been really tough the past couple of years, and I've been really frustrated and angry and sad sometimes that it's gone so slow. And you can't rush these things. There's reasons why it's gone so slow, and you're not supposed to compare yourselves to other artists and stuff like that. So the past few weeks where things are coming together, I hope they keep coming like this so we can release a new album next year is the plan. But that's been really good. I think I've said it before, but volume therapy has been a big deal. Like, there's some days where I don't want to go to practice, and then I get there and then we write cool stuff and I go, that's what I've been waiting all day for. So we're hoping to write more tunes, continue this writing process and get into the studio sometime, in the very near future is the plan. But other than that, it's just been a lot of different things. Like I said, I'm drawing a blank, but all of those, it's interesting, Drew, you mentioned Yellow Jackets. There was another one that Rain was watching about a group of people crash landed, and there's like the part, I think they crash landed on an island. I only watched bits of it. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but they crashed on an island, and there's also a contemporary section.
Yeah, there was. I can't remember what that's called.
That was interesting in some ways as well. But at first I thought that I was like, was that Yellow Jackets? Then I realized it's not the same show.
Right.
But I guess there's a whole crash landing thing going on.
Well, that
Lately.
jumping
in the
back and
past few years.
forth in time is a new favorite
Sure.
motif, and it's pretty cool. That's
It works
pretty
when it's
great.
done really well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, a lot of my endorsement is just been trying to be mindful and enjoy things and let other people enjoy things. And something else, and I don't mean to rant or anything like that, and I hope people, but
Yeah.
being a musician, everybody has put out their Spotify lists this week because that's a thing that they offer. If you like bands, I will ask. Not everybody has the money. That's why, like Deserts of Mars, we make the digital part pay what you can, because it's tough right now. Like, there's lots of upheaval and terrible. But I will say, being in a band, and I'll leave it at this: if you like a band on Spotify, it takes so many Spotify listens to equate if you just go to their Bandcamp page and buy even to buy a song. Like, even if it's not the Bandcamp Friday where we make all the money, where a musician makes all the money, even if you make 75 cents off of one song that somebody buys, that's like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of listens just to get that 75 cents. So in the spirit of the holidays, if you're like, you know what, my Spotify list says that I played this band this many times and it was a lot, I'm a case study that if again, I'm not trying to guilt anybody, this is just throwing it out there, that anything that you throw at buying directly, especially since Bandcamp is so direct, that's why. And also a lot of indie musicians like myself use it. Anytime you buy an album from somebody, whether they're touring or you buy it from Bandcamp, is something to be mindful of when you get that. It's cool that Spotify offers that, but there's a lot of, if you read about the guy who runs Spotify, there's some really not great things that have come out this week that I'm just like, oh no. This is a judgment. I'm not here to really tell you whether or not to use the service or other services or whatever, but I can, as a musician, tell you that if you see those things come up just because it's come up recently, that helps. That's just the way it is. But again, if things are tough, and having that subscription is awesome, and I always appreciate people listening and enjoying what I do. And anytime somebody else tells me, hey, enjoy either my band or friends of mine's band or whatever, like that music is the thing that glues a lot of things together. I mean, look at the holidays. Is Christmas really Christmas? Some people hate Christmas music, but it is. There's a soundtrack to it, right? That's something that binds us all together. So,
is there going to be a Deserts of Mars Christmas album?
We could probably make Christmas songs tend to do pretty well, and I've been trying to figure out what a Deserts of Mars Christmas song would be.
If you want to brainstorm that,
I haven't quite broken the mold yet. But I keep thinking of it every year when I know how much, like, I had some friends who just did a cover of the Kinks' Father Christmas, which is, again, one of my favorite alternative. I have a whole alternate Christmas list.
I mean,
in
some
the same
kind
way
of
I have
Send
an
More
alternate
Gasoline Christmas.
something. I don't know. Christmas on
Right.
Mars something needs to be. Because I have
I
that
think
same
it's a
kind of
wonderful
list when I
idea,
watch like Rare Exports as a Christmas movie, which is
Rare
definitely
Exports is definitely a Christmas movie.
Oh, I mean, yeah, but like it's the alternate. It's not the Grinch, but Rare Exports is one that Rain and I watch every year, right? This again goes back to my household, which I get. That's an endorsement. I don't mean to go on too long, but Rare Exports, if you haven't seen it, especially if you can catch it subtitled, the dub's okay, but it kind of changes some of the meaning a little bit. I've watched both, so I can say this, but if you haven't seen Rare Exports, definitely that's a good one to watch. But again, sorry if I went a little long, but these are the things on my mind lately as I move into the new year. So
that's okay.
Sorry.
No, good.
I just, before you get too far off on your discussion of Christmas music, I just wanted to say Jamie has written a Danger Cakes Christmas song, and I wish she would record it, but I don't think she ever will, because it is the raunchiest thing I think I have ever heard.
I think there's room for that, and I think that goes back. I think there's a history, but there's a history in that there were raunchy party albums,
absolutely,
that are or at least the boomer generation, especially. Somebody else was talking about this, where there were raunchy party albums that their parents' parents, or maybe it was my grandparents. My mom was actually saying like she got to stay at a party one time. There were raunchy party albums. So
Mm-hmm.
I think why not record that and bring it back? There's a history of this. I say I hope she does it. I mean, the notoriety
I'm
alone.
gonna try and talk her into it. Like because I think it's hysterical, but I am also someone that thinks that there should be always be Christmas counter programming.
Sure, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah, get her to do that. Why not?
On it. We'll do an Austin music scene Christmas album like compilation. Everybody, see, there you go. That's how you're gonna talk.
2022. We got to make this
2022.
happen. I'll
Yes.
I'll come up with a Martian Christmas song.
Sure.
Bradley and I will. Yeah, we'll work on that. That sounds like a good goal.
All right.
Let's see. So I had the really funniest experience this past week. So Julia's right. I've been watching a lot of the Hallmark Christmas because when I'm at home, for the first part of the pandemic, when I was working out at home, I would play like workout music, and then I've just got bored with it. So it came to where whenever I was working out, I would play these Hallmark Christmas movies, and and so I've watched hundreds of these hundreds of these things, and so this past week I did a class from an online group called the Writers Summit, and they just teach you different things in writing and stuff. But this one was a 2-night course taught by some producers and writers on how to write a Hallmark Christmas movie, and I learned so many things because this is 4 hours talking about how to write Hallmark Christmas films. I learned so much stuff, and I learned some solid respect for the craft because, you know, everybody you talk to people and they've got a lot to say about these movies, and you talk to people and they'll go, oh, it doesn't sound like it's too hard. Look, what's hard is not deviating. That's what's hard. Because if you're good enough to write one of these things, what's hard is sticking to the rules. It's like if you're watching a dance show, somebody who's competing in any given dance event. Julia watches those all the time. You get points off for deviating, and the Hallmark movies have to stick to an almost metronome-like timing and formula, and I was just truly impressed with it. And also, my goal in 2022 is to write one of these things. I'm gonna write a Hallmark Christmas movie, just you watch. So that's
I
my
want to help you write, because Rain and I have talked about writing our own, because she's watched hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these, and by proxy I've watched probably at least half that many.
well. Why don't we?
Like, I think we should write. You and I should also write the one that does deviate.
Yeah, totally.
Not necessarily a parody.
Because you can sell the one that does deviate to Netflix.
Right.
But I think what we should do is like write side by side. Like you and Rain can do. We could have like a weekly story meeting. You and Rain could work on one. I could work on one, and so by summer we could have a couple of scripts. And that's a fun idea. That's a really great idea. Well, actually, I'm sorry. I have a book that comes out next week. I should endorse that. It's actually a thing. 18 Miles from Town. If you have not listened to the interview that I did with Monster Movie Happy Hour,
Which was great, by the way.
It was really great.
it's very kind of you. I really appreciate it. That's goes deeply into it, but basically we're calling it Die Hard with a dad bod. It is about a middle-aged man who goes off to his family farm to try to write a book, but bad guys break in and begin to torture him, and he tries to get away, and it's very, very suspenseful. I tried to make it like just an almost real-time story, so I'm stoked. I actually really enjoyed it. It's coming out. This is a Castle Bridge book, and it's coming out Tuesday. So you can get it on Kindle for $2.99. You can also order the paperback, but Kindle's $2.99. Go check it out. I want to hear from you what you think. And that is it. I am so honored to have had a chance to spend time with you guys, both today talking about Jaws 4 and talking about everything through the year.
And I hope
So
everybody's had those who celebrate Hanukkah have had a joyous Hanukkah, and everybody who
Mhm.
celebrates
yes,
Christmas will have a very Merry Christmas, and everybody have a Happy New Year, and we'll see you, I guess, in 2022.
for
Yeah,
real.
definitely
Real.
wishing the best for everyone. I hope, again, things are still tougher than perhaps they should be, but I hope, anybody who's listening to this, thank you again. We probably won't get, be in your homes again until January, but thanks
And
all year
whatever
for
other
supporting us.
holidays we're missing, I'm
Yeah, yeah,
happy
yeah,
those as well.
absolutely.
I don't mean
But
to exclude them.
yeah, I do hope that everybody's holiday season and New Year's is really just great, or as great as it could possibly be at any given time. And thank you again for just hanging out with us. That does mean the world. I mean, we all get to hang out with each other, and that's great. But we really appreciate you hanging out with us all the time. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So thank you very, very much, and everyone be excellent to one another. And I'll talk to you guys next week, and we will figure out when we return and what we're returning with. We don't even know yet. Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful,
Bye.
wonderful, wonderful evening. Bye.
Night.
Night.